this is a surf picture of me after winning the Australian Surfboard Championship in 1939. It's a board I built myself, and in those days you haven't got electric screwdrivers, and there would probably be 1,000 screws to screw the ply each side down on the frame. It was a mighty job in those days. Now with the modern gear, you could do it in half the time. But they were some of the first hollow boards. I built several, but this is one of the best one I ever managed, and it won the Australian Surfboard Championship. My mother was Australian, my father was German, and as far as we were concerned, my father had business in Australia. But he happened to be in Germany when the First World War broke out, and that's when I was born, when the First World War broke out. And my father got back into his business in Australia in 1925, and we, the family, followed in 1927. And it was at the height of the Depression, or well into the Depression, and it was a pretty tough life when we first came to Australia, but we moved to Manly and rented a house there. I was very keen on surfboards. My first surfboard was a solid redwood, very heavy. I think it was 9 feet long, 6, 7, no, it was about 8 feet long. And I surfed in that. The buoyancy wasn't very good. You couldn't very well sit on it without a bit partly sinking. But I had fun with it. And one thing about that board to the later ones is you could broach them. That meant you turned your board side on and you could come down any way if you liked without very much trouble, which was a lot of fun in those days. And I hated rescuing people by belt. I started rescuing them by board. And it wasn't accepted as the right way of rescuing people. But on one Sunday morning, I remember it was a very big sea running, and there was somebody miles out at sea by this time, and the chappie with the line went out, but I was strong a swimmer, and I said, he'd never get there. I got hold of my surfboard, pedalled out to there. I got there well before he was even through the break. And as soon as the chappie touched the board, the panic was gone. He was as calm as you and I now. I got him on the board, got him to Manly, and got him onto the beach, and believe it or not, he was very thankful. And that was probably the first board rescue ever done. But there was a downside to all the surfboard rescuing. The young girls used to love to be rescued by the lifesavers, but not by belt. But they used to like rescued by surfboard. In the beginning, we didn't recognize it as they really just asking for company. But in reality, we found later on that they just went out there for the fun of it to get us to come out and rescue them, you see. I stuck with my board. I did a lot of racing from Wollongong up to Newcastle. I would say I won 80 to 90% of all the races, and eventually won the Australian surfboard race at Bondi. And I think my strengths lie more not in my arms, but that I could stay on my knees longer than anybody else. And I think that helped me to win the Australian Surfboard Championship. And as far as shooting waves, we did not what you see these days, all the fancy stuff they do it. We just shot straight waves, but did stand up because it's more control of the board when you can move backwards and forwards to keep the tip of the board out of the water, you see. And I was chosen to demonstrate and race in Hawaii, but the government wouldn't give me a passport. And I was out of the thing. Imagine a young person like me, probably 24 or 23, what sort of an impression that made on me, you know. They replied, he said, I was German born, and security thinks I shouldn't go because the war was that close. The war wasn't on yet, but the war was that close of coming. How I got a security risk, I couldn't work out because I didn't even know what Nazis were. And Hitler was just a name to me. It meant nothing, really. I was that unpolitical as any human being could possibly be. It all came to an end when the war started. And I had to leave the life-saving club. Well, I was forced out of it, really, by that I was being interned. The police came to the house. They picked up my brother, my foster brother, and then they saw me and said, "Oh, there's another one." And they picked me up, took us to Neutral Bay Police Station, and the station was full. There was at least 50 Germans, Italians, and other people there, you see. And from there, they took us to Long Bay, slammed us into a cell. I mean, as a young man, me, suddenly out of prosperity into this sort of thing, it was unbelievable. I saw one person completely go mad in Long Bay. He was very badly affected. And then they took us to Orange. We spent probably 2 nights at Long Bay only. Then went to Orange. From Orange, we went to Tortura. And Tortura is in Victoria. And there I spent, I think it was about 3 years and 2 months or something, as an internee. 2 years after the war, I thought, well, why not get back in this? Because by that time I was taking my surfboard home every day when I went surfing, you see. I thought I might as well join the club again. But they would not accept me. So probably 10 years or 8 years after that, they approached me and said, we would like you to join the club again. The reasons I can well imagine, but it doesn't matter very much, you see. I think it's something to do with my surfboard championship, you see, because it's something on the board. I'm everywhere shown as an Australian surfboard champion, but not in the club, you see. And so I joined it again, and I joined it as a life member. Well, I'm a life member to this day still, yes. Yeah. When you come down a wave, and you're in the break of the wave, that's when it curled over like this, and you're inside there, it's beautiful. You can't describe it. It's absolutely terrific. You see it a lot these days, you see, being in the wave. It's all over you, but you're surfing beautifully, you see. That is surfing.